What have you invested into today? Hi, everyone, and welcome to Let's Win, where you'll find God filled encouragement that will help you live and lead with a victory mindset. Today, we're asking the question, what are you investing into? This morning, I went for a run. We have a trail right here by our house, and it's such a privilege to always go. And often when I go, I ask the Lord to just speak to me or just stir something in my heart. And as I was running this morning, I noticed how washed away the paths had become through the season. It's been a rainy season, and a lot of the ground and the sand and the gravel has been washed away, and there's some soil erosion in places. But what's left in these paths are these big boulders. No, not boulders, big rocks, often just protruding enough for me to hit my foot or something. And the other thing is these roots, tree roots that are left in this path. And it reminded me of something we shared with the children in the beginning of the year. Our first children's church lesson was all about putting first things first. And it's so interesting that when we have the lesson is all about putting important things, making time for the important things first into your day. Make time, make spaces, and important things being like spending time with Jesus, spending time with your family, or just investing into those important relationships. And those are the big rocks, and they must go in first. Then all the other little things that fade away eventually in a stormy rain or whatever, they will all fit into this jar. We use the image of a jar. And you can actually go do this experiment. If you do it the other way around, if you first try and put in all the sand, the big rocks don't fit in. And that's so often what our days look like. If we fill up our time with unimportant little urgent things, the little foxes that come in and every day and just eat at our days, often we find ourselves at the end of the day and you haven't sat with one of your children and had that important conversation, or you haven't spent time with the Lord, or you haven't spent time with those important things. And as I was just looking at these rocks in the path, I realized that that's what's left. Even when the storms came, the rains came, those big rocks remain. And it reminded me of what Daniel spoke about on Sunday. He gave such a good message about do not be anxious and do not worry about tomorrow. It's that whole piece in Matthew 6 was such a good word. He spoke about becoming like children. And but if we go to Matthew 6, I want to add to this, and it's such an important part. If you just go a little bit before where Jesus spoke about anxiety and worry, he says this very importantly. He says, do not store treasures, do not store up or heap up treasures on earth, where or earthly treasures where it can be get rotten or eaten away by moths, but store up treasures in heaven. In other words, things that will last forever. This is in Matthew 6. And then he says you cannot serve two masters at the same time, which is a check for our hearts. And then after that, he says, therefore, do not be anxious. Do not worry about tomorrow, for it has troubles of its own. Now, I'm just noticing this important progression here where he first talks about storing up treasures in heaven, and then you cannot serve two masters, and then do not worry or be anxious. How many of you know if you're someone that has a lot of treasures on earth, a lot of things that need your time, a lot of focus points that either need your money or tugging at your wallet every month, or just a lot of commitments. What does that lead to? It leads to this tension that makes me wonder, like, am I serving two masters? I'm looking at it from not a very weighty perspective, but it's a check for my heart. What am I pursuing? What is the focus of my heart? There where your heart is, where your treasure will be. Where is my heart? It's a checkpoint for us. Where are we investing into? And based on that, we can take Jesus' words and not worry or not be anxious about tomorrow. Isn't that interesting? And you can go make your own conclusion about this, but I know if you're living in a space where you are perhaps financially burdened or indebted by financial pressures, or there's debt in your life, I know those are often the reasons why we're experiencing anxiety and worry. It's often a financial root. But obviously, we all live in this world system where we do have rising costs and rising pressure. So there is an element of that in all our lives, and we can still bring that to the Lord and say, Lord, help us to not be anxious about tomorrow. But I want to bring us back. Where are we investing our time? And investing into those things that are eternal, there is no financial cost and there's no money. The currency with heavenly treasures is time, it's emotional capacity, it's spirit, it's heart, it's just being able to invest and be in the moment. That's the currency for heaven's treasures. And what's sad is often that's the currency that takes the most strain at the end of a day. So often hear myself, I just don't have emotional capacity for this right now. This is your child, or no, you take it. You handle this one. And yeah, I feel like the Lord is pulling us back to our focus back to investing into what is of eternal value. The last thing that these rocks in this pathway reminded me of was a dried up riverbed. And why it reminded me of that is I'd spent time in Isaiah 35 in the week, and I'd actually shared with one of our teams just what I felt the Lord is just releasing or reminding us of again his promises. Um, a dried up riverbed. What do you find in this dried up riverbed? Often are the rocks and the roots of the trees that are planted by the stream, or had where the stream had been. But those are the things that withstand the dry times. But thankfully, the Lord does not lead us into desert spaces and into dry and parched lands. He comes and he drenches the dry lands. And this is what we can read in Isaiah 35. He says, he promises that the dry land shall be glad again and blossom like roses. It shall blossom in abundance. And he says the burning sand and mirage will become a pool, and the thirsty ground springs of water. In Isaiah 34:16, he says, every promise and every prophecy that is spoken in this book shall not fail. It's not just for the the negative and the bad prophecies and the doom that is spoken over some of the regions in Isaiah, but it's for us, the good prophecies, the prophecies that speaks about his goodness for his people, speaks about the parched land becoming streams of life. That's for us. And that is something we can take into our everyday. um, I want to end with a short story from these past 2 days of the McGear family. We've had a busy season this year, but just this little extract, and I just realized this is again the Lord opening an opportunity for us to make those eternal investments. Um, this morning, basically yesterday, I saw my daughter 5:45 in the morning, briefly in the kitchen. We exchanged a few words, and I hadn't seen her again for the rest of the day. I saw her again this morning on her way back to school again. And because by the time came back last night, she was already asleep, and we hadn't seen each other for the entire day. Now that's not every day, but every now and then we have these days. But anyway, this morning in the kitchen, there was tension and everyone was just feeling a little bit, well, between her and I, we were feeling a little bit grumpy, and a few words were exchanged, and it just triggered a little bit of an eruption in me. And I walked to my room, and I was angry. And as I walked into my room, I realized I cannot send her into another day that would be the same with this between her and I. We can't go into this day again. And the tensions are high, and the words have been exchanged. And with this crazy turn of events, my husband was on his way to take them. Crazy turn of events, randomly, I ended up having to take the kids because he had to sort something out here in the yard, and had another whole story on its own. But I had to end up taking, and it was early morning, so we'd have to wait in the car, and there were preschool activities happening. And so I ended up taking the children, and all the two older ones. And her and I had this entire hour for ourselves in the car, alone, together. And it was just as if God's grace came and rested in that car. We bought coffee, we bought something to a little snacky, and we sat and we visited, and we caught up, and we spoke, and we just got each other again. It was just this beautiful moment of grace where the Lord said, I know you need to make an investment here. I know the important thing here is an eternal investment. And it's as if His grace just comes and enables us to have those moments. So I want to encourage you. Sometimes it feels impossible to have those moments in between, but trust the Lord that He will come and that He will make opportunity for us. That will help us spot opportunities where we can make those eternal investments, whether it is with the Lord, whether it is with your loved ones, your children, your spouse, your friends, your parents, whoever it may be. But make sure that those eternal investments are the ones that we focus our lives on, so that we can live free from anxiety, that we can live without worry. Because when the storms come, when the flood comes, when the dryness comes, those are the things that keep us anchored. Those are the things that remain in the path. Those are the things that will last forever, as Jesus promised us. Friends, let's win together, today, tomorrow, and in the rest of this week. Bless you.